We have our next speaker coming up in just a moment. His name is Andre de Castro. Correct, Andre?
Thanks, Will.
All right. So, are you familiar with what IoT is, everyone? Internet of Things? Yes? So, he's going to be talking about IoT security and application development via the blockchain. So, the quick backgrounder on Andre is the CEO and founder of Blockchain of Things Incorporated. He's a longtime cryptocurrency specialist who has an expert's insight into the field's potential and is working towards making that a potential reality. He's been an active participant in the Bitcoin community and industry since 2010, and he has experience as a developer, investor, trader, advisor, and U.S. policy influencer. So let's give a big round of applause to Andre de Castro, ladies and gentlemen. There you go.
Hey, thank you.
Good luck. Here's your clicker.
Okay.
That one right there, right? The white.
Thank you. Hello, everyone, and good morning. So today I'm going to speak about transforming IoT security and application development via the public blockchain. Now, I'm going to say public blockchain a lot today because I think it's important that we realize a little bit of history. So I'm going to take you through a bit of memory lane in about a few seconds. How many blockchains will there be? Today, we look at the Bitcoin blockchain, Quarter, which is the R3 consortium, Hyperledger, Ethereum, and it seems like we're going to have a blockchain for tires, for DNA, for special types of diseases, for everything under the sun. So if we look today, I don't think that there's really too much distinction between what's happening now and what we've already experienced during the start of the internet. So if we go down memory lane a little bit, we'll quickly remember that intranets were all the rage. We were going to have an intranet for doctors. My bank didn't allow me to connect to the banking system via the internet. I had Citibank. I had to launch an app that went through a dial-up modem and connected because they were never going to use the public internet because it was unsafe, did not scale, and what was going to be revolutionary were intranets. If you don't recall, AOL bought Time Warner Cable for $162 billion, and it was tiny compared to Time Warner. All of these articles you see, Computer World, Network World, CNET, this CNET quote is the best. PAOLs, private AOLs. Let's just replace that with Ethereum and the private blockchains that are happening. History always seems to repeat itself. For those of you who don't recall, if you're old enough, you probably worked in a company that had a mail system based on Lotus Notes. And it was horrid. And the reason why we used it and it was popular was because email wouldn't scale. So what are the complaints today of the public blockchain? Some may not know, but the blockchain is transparent. It uses cryptography, but it doesn't encrypt anything. There are limited messaging capabilities. People will tell you that transactions are slow. Well, in reality, we can cure all of these problems just like we cured all of the problems on the internet. And they're called second-layer technologies. And we did that with email. We built the SMTP protocol. New York Times said that the internet could never replace the newspaper. How was anyone going to read one line of information on a black screen. So we built second-layer technologies called HTTP to allow us to build applications on top of this TCP/IP protocol. So to everyone in the room, be wary. I may be wrong, but history tends to repeat itself. So difficult to integrate with. Transaction messages are slow. There's limited messaging capabilities, because today the global Bitcoin blockchain can only transmit 80 bytes of data. How about if I told you that you won't have to wait a year or two, but all of these problems that you see on the screen that people are complaining about exist today, because my company started building it in 2014. We can encrypt every message. We can deliver payloads of any size between the US and Japan between 400 and 600 milliseconds, be it a document, a contract. Every single issue you see on the screen can be done today and is being done today already. And if anyone gets on this stage or gets on a podcast and tells you that's erroneous, please come look at our product. So I present to you Catena's Enterprise. Catena's Enterprise is akin to an HTTP layer to allow companies to rapidly build in any language. You don't need to learn Solidity. You don't need to learn a new development language. You don't need to use a blockchain that is unproven or insecure, that has been hacked over and over, that recently locked up $260 million of people's money in a smart contract. You could use the global Bitcoin blockchain that has been proven for 9 years and accomplish everything you want to accomplish today. We make building applications faster, cheaper, and easier. Let's talk a little bit about that. The Catena's Enterprise layer is a second-layer technology. So think of the blockchain as the TCP/IP layer on the internet. A Catena's Enterprise exposes a second-layer technology akin to the Lightning Network. Of course, it's our own protocol that allows you to use any development language compiled to protect your intellectual property, such as C++, Python, JavaScript, to put together any application you want, and by using the most secure and proven blockchain in the world. The Catena solution provides security enhancements, ease of use enhancements, and enhancements that aren't even thought of in the blockchain space today to allow companies to accomplish what they really need to accomplish. I'm a veteran in this space, as mentioned before. I've been around for close to 8 years in the New York Bitcoin community. In 2013, I helped define policy with FinCEN ruling. For those of you who don't know who FinCEN is, they're the ones who enforce the Bank Secrecies Act and the Patriot Act in the United States. The reason why you can buy and sell from one's own account is because I requested a FinCEN ruling that I started writing in 2012. And it's the reason today why people can have spot exchanges in the US. I know the technology deep. Traditionally trained academic computer scientist, and this solution provides everything that you're being told can't be done. We have a built-in permissioning model, so all of the excuses of building private blockchains are because you can't permission public addresses on the global blockchain. Well, that's not true. We can cryptographically verify any payload on any public address attached to any system or device across the planet. We can deliver data across the blockchain in less than half a second across the planet. Let's talk about smart assets and intelligent contracts. Smart assets are another term for tokens, right? In our system, they're a little bit smarter than tokens. So any of you in the room who have played with smart contract technology, you know that smart contracts today can't do much. What they can do is they conditionally receive, hold, and release Ethereum. And that's all they can do. They can't even speak to the real world without assistance. They can't even make a call to get a price of gold without assistance. In our system, they execute very slow at the speed of a 1986 computer, and they're incredibly limited. Most of the white papers you'll read, I can tell you as a computer scientist that it's impossible to execute what you're reading on those white papers on top of the platforms that exist today. When you look at our system, you could deliver any payload of any size near instantly. It executes at the speed of the microprocessor. Our intelligent contracts aren't conditioned on releasing or executing conditions by receiving a token from the protocol. You can send it any data, a music, a song, automatically generate tokens on the fly, up to 4 trillion tokens on the fly. Distribute those tokens representing contracts, representing medical records, representing anything you want to 5,000 endpoints, 100,000 endpoints instantly. Log that information to the blockchain. Do any combination thereof in any language. Not a version 1 crippled language. C++, Python, whatever you'd like. Corporate adoption has already started. The old way of doing things is connecting systems to a central cloud. Well, 8 months ago, we experienced Amazon Web Services go down. And for those of you who don't know what cloud computing is, all it means is that you're putting your computers on someone else's server. And that creates 2 central points of failure. You have to protect your own systems, and then your hosting provider can go down. And if your hosting provider goes down, your system and everybody else's system at the hosting provider goes down. So when AWS went down 8 months ago, you may have been on the internet and said, I can't get to the web pages I want to get to. Or some of you who had connected systems at home like me, I have the Amazon Echo that turns on and turns off my light bulbs. I couldn't turn on and turn off my light bulbs. But in reality, doctors couldn't get into their medical offices and operating rooms with their key cards. The security cameras that were protecting your homes stopped functioning. Industrial equipment in factories stopped working because what we're doing today is insanity. We're connecting all of our systems to a central cloud. When the central cloud gets attacked, every single facility and device connected to those systems go down. Is this important? I've been predicting this for 5 years. The US government is starting to look at specific industries. It may not be that big a deal if I can't turn on the light bulbs in my house, but it sure is a big deal when your medical devices go down, because what we're doing is insane. The solution is here today, and it's called Continuous Enterprise by Blockchain of Things. Our old systems lack trust, have poor security, and create central points of failure. By using the global public blockchain, we have peer-to-peer resilience, auditable interactions, and we do everything via cryptography. Customers, like I said, are using the system. We already have some big names in the industrial military complex and others. So what is this used for? Well, in the enterprise arena, it's used for smart cities and factories to eliminate central points of failure, for reduction of theft and diversion. We can use this to quickly integrate into our production lines and systems to reduce fraud and theft. And we can change supply chain logistics. So I have here an interactive slide that shows you at a high level how the system works. We can send cryptographic messages from New York to California, cryptographically signed, and produce read receipts of the occurrence to cryptographically verify occurrence, sending them back. We can also do distribution across the world, so we can be in Europe and distribute payloads and information of any size across the planet to every country. But because we can support tokens and digital assets that can be mapped to stocks, bonds, songs, we can send a message from Latin America to New York knowing that New York has a contract, have that contract transmitted back to Latin America, transmitted to several other points on the planet, and have perfect cryptographic proof of chain of custody. And this is where things get interesting. We can now change the way global supply chains work. If we put Catena's endpoints on the ship, when it arrives, it can communicate to its downstream partners, produce its own bill of lading, and send an invoice to its customer across the planet. But we can even get a little more interesting. We can generate tokens dynamically on the fly with one message. Create that token, make that token a key that expires in time. For those of you who understand Bitcoin and blockchain technology, we can create transactions with times to live. And that token can be sent to industrial equipment, such as a robotic arm in Russia, and say that that robotic arm only works for 2 years. Now, let's pause for a second here. If I were on stage about 10 to 12 years ago, and I told you that the software you were downloading, you were no longer going to download, but you were going to pay monthly to use services online via something called software as a service, you might have laughed at me. I sit here today in front of you to tell you that today, Catena's Enterprise can deliver to any company in the world hardware as a service. We can provision and control any piece of hardware that you want. Some of you have fancy cars. You put plastic keys into your cars to start them to get here this morning. You ever wonder what's in that plastic key? It's called a private key. It's a cryptographic private key. It starts your car. I could revoke that when your lease is over. I could be in Australia with one transaction today and generate 2 trillion tokens if I want, and name each token an hour of use, and put a program on my industrial equipment in Africa saying that for every token that I send, it's an hour of use on my equipment in Africa. Send 24 tokens, and that industrial equipment only works for 24 hours. We believe that this will revolutionize leasing and financing throughout the world in the way we see it. My name's Andre de Castro. I'm the CEO and founder of Blockchain of Things. We started building the product and started doing releases in 2014 when the product was a bit immature. We do have a token sale going on if you're interested that powers the product. The product is available to be seen and functioning. I will have a few hours of availability later today if this is of interest to you to see it live and working. And I have, if you're interested in the token sale, we're at the pre-sale stage. You can go to tokensale.blockchainofthings.com, and I'd like to make available the last 5 minutes I have for any questions that anyone may have. Sir?
Thank you. Very nice presentation. I've got a question. What is your relationship with the cellular module vendors? Because all IoT devices use cellular modules. Cellular modules have to communicate with 4G LTE, narrowband IoT connections normally. So what is your relationship? You say you're IoT. IoT relies on cellular modules on the device to get to an operator's network or to get to the cloud. So what is your relationship with cellular module vendors?
That's a fantastic question. Let me address that fairly quickly. We're a horizontal platform. I named the company Blockchain of Things, and I'm glad I did because today it's become an actual name for an industry in a space. However, I dislike the term IoT because it conjures up the image of devices. And in reality, it should have been called the Internet of Everything because more systems are connected to the Internet than actual devices. What you're speaking about is a very narrow and limited scope of what Catenis can do. The answer is that today, we don't have any relationship with those specific hardware vendors. We're still a small startup, and we're pure software.
So we'll talk after this.
You can place Catenis on any piece of hardware, but we're pure software. And when it comes to limitations of cellular communication, we have none. So if you do any research, Blockstream, arguably one of the largest blockchain companies in the world, about 5 or 6 months ago started blasting blocks up into satellites, and today they cover 99% of the planet with Bitcoin blocks. You could buy a $100 satellite dish and receive a Bitcoin blocking transaction, which means that you can put Catenis without any internet links in the middle of the desert or on top of a oil rig, and it will receive transactions and execute anywhere on the planet with no need for cellular, okay, and no need for internet lines. What we're doing is revolutionary. Thank you for your question. Any other questions? Please.
This is very interesting topic. IoT with the blockchain, both are emerging technologies, and there is a lot of potential. My question to you is that, is your product in the prototype stage, or is it working?
My product is functional. You can sign a contract with the company today. If you go to my token sales website, there's a white paper. We're not selling futures. If you were to purchase in the pre-sales, you're getting a 1-year license of the product. And then you could choose how many tokens you want with the product. But we're not selling futures, we're not selling white papers, and we're very, very specific. I would say 98% of what you read in the white paper is there today. If it isn't, it's footnoted that it isn't, and we don't even promise that it will be available on a specific date because we don't make future promises. We believe what's happening in the industry today is outrageous, that any company would try to sell you a dream on a possible blockchain that may not exist in the future for you to gamble your money. We think that that's outrageous. So please read our white paper. 98%, anything that isn't in the product today will probably be in the white paper will probably be released within the end of Q1 or Q2 of 2018, which we're already close to the middle of. and it's footnoted, and it's about a percent and a half of the white paper, and that's it, and we call it out specifically. Thank you for your question.
How many customers you have till now?
We only have a handful of customers. Some of them we can expose. Some of them are new and don't want to talk about being in the blockchain space because we target larger companies. But I can tell you today that all of them are in the prototype phase. Large companies are still trying to get their heads around how to do this. But we'll also soon have a product targeted towards consumers where you can build on the global Bitcoin blockchain without writing a line of code.
Thank you so much. Good luck.
Thank you.
If this is a stupid question, it's because I'm ignorant and I acknowledge that. But
There are none.
the 90% of what we've heard for the last 3 days has been talking about blockchain. And as I understand it, blockchain can only work if there are enough nodes to handle all of this data. So I want to know, where are the nodes? Who owns them? Are there enough of them? And how does it work? Thank you.
Right. So when I talk about blockchains, I'm talking about the global Bitcoin blockchain. The global Bitcoin blockchain is the largest blockchain with the largest footprint on the planet. There are, on average, about 11 to 14,000 full nodes that we know of, and thousands of other nodes that are hidden throughout the world. That gives you massive redundancy at a human scale that we've never seen. The capacity of the Bitcoin network is mind-blowing. Close to 2.5 years ago, someone did a study on the processing power of the Bitcoin network and clocked it to be 200-fold all of the processing power of all of Google's servers worldwide. This was close to 2.5 years ago. The processing power of the Bitcoin network has doubled since then every 4 months. So it's massive. And it exists on every corner of the planet. On my laptop, there's a full node. And in this conference, I'm going to guess that there's at least 80 of them. So we can deliver information to the most expensive part, which is the last mile, right close to the consumer. And I hope that answered your question. I want to thank everyone for their time today and for coming to the conference.
Nicely done. Thank you. All right.